Many anglers assume that walleyes drop down directly onto deep rock structure immediately after they leave these shallow spawning sites, but that's really not the case. The reason is that the warmer upper surface waters generally host the most food at this time of year, even if it's a suspended prey like ciscos or shad. So consequently, the walleyes remain quite shallow, usually much shallower than people think in many instances. In a clear water lake or impoundment, post-spawn walleyes might use weed cover on the flats or be along the primary drop-off. Yet if the food source is suspended, they'll likely move out over the adjacent deep water as well. Chances are, however, they'll be reluctant to drop deep, generally preferring to remain near the warmer surface layers. As walleyes eventually desert their spawning areas, post-spawn blends into a pre-summer condition. As fry develop and weeds begin to flourish, fish continually change position. Loosely scattered groups of walleyes begin gathering into definable schools, functioning as a unit rather than as individuals. As summer approaches and the sun rises higher in the sky, light penetration increases and the water grows increasingly warmer. Unless sufficient wood cover, developing weed growth, or watercolor is present, many walleyes will begin to drop deeper. Some may use classic underwater structure like main lake points and mid-depth reefs and humps. Others may roam open basin areas devoid of structure, feeding on emerging mayflies. Still others may follow suspended shad, which feed on plankton near the surface. It all depends upon what's available. In many cases, the fish have more than one option, and different groups of fish set up in different depths and areas. River walleyes use a variety of areas all up and down the river. Points, holes, wing dams, eddies, flooded shoreline cover, all could hold fish. Anything that breaks the force of the current could possibly attract walleyes. In general, they lay just inside the slower current, facing out into the moving water, ready to dash out into the main flow in case food drifts by. High water conditions and fast current usually draw fish tight to shore. Fallen or flooded trees, shoreline points, the tips of islands, or the extreme upriver and downriver ends of poles attract fish. In general, they hold very tight to cover. Low water conditions and reduced current give the fish more opportunity to roam. With little flooded cover and less current to fight, the fish spread out more toward the center of the river. Outside river bends, large eddy areas of moderately slack water, and holes in general become prime drawing cards. Fish might be spread all across a wing dam instead of restricted to a tiny portion by savage current flow. Conditions can change drastically on a day-to-day basis, and you adapt to them each time out.
Summer. With the advent of summer, walleyes settle into distinct behavioral patterns and areas. Schools of fish inhabit different areas and become somewhat predictable. Fish activity is often based upon time of day or the prevailing weather. Stable weather leads to fairly aggressive biting fish, while cold fronts often cause lockjaw.
In early summer, lakes with stained to dark water cover on the flats usually host large numbers of fish on the flats themselves or along the primary drop-off. The fish may use shallow sunken islands, but in general aren't found much deeper than 25 feet. Channel edges and shallow reservoirs may be key concentration spots. Clear bodies of water like this one may see fish using a variety of depth levels. Some may be on weed edges, along the first drop-off, on deep 40-foot structure, or even suspended. Although a thermocline or rapid change in water temperature usually develops somewhere between 20 and 40 feet, it's generally mild in early summer and presents no barrier to fish movement. Adequate oxygen is available throughout the depths. By midsummer, however, the thermocline intensifies and prevents wind from mixing oxygen-rich surface layers with the lower water, leading to eventual oxygen depletion in the depths. Walleyes may be forced to leave the lower basin layers completely. Summer usually finds an abundance of food sources in the form of minnows, various fingerlings, and insects. Walleyes in different portions of the lake key in on the most effective feeding times in those spots. For example, walleyes in shallow weed or wood cover often bite best on cloudy, rainy days or at night. They rise up out of the cover as light intensity decreases and roam in search of food. Sunny days find them tight under the cover and more reluctant to move or bite. Deeper structure fish feeding on perch are often in a neutral feeding attitude and can be caught all day long. A few here, a few there. They often feed voraciously, however, during the periods of rapid change in light intensity at dusk and dawn. Perch can't see well at this time and are easy prey for eagle-eyed walleyes. Suspended walleyes feeding on ciscos may or may not strike troll crankbaits during the day. But as evening approaches and the deep water ciscos rise toward the surface, following the movement of light-sensitive plankton, suspended walleyes attack with a vengeance. Even river fish can be affected by cold fronts and changing weather, although usually not as much as their cousins in lakes and reservoirs. During frontal conditions, concentrate on the prime feeding times at dawn and dusk. During stable weather, however, you should be able to catch some fish just about all day long. Wind is a great equalizer for bad weather. On large, windswept bodies of water, walleyes often feed aggressively on shallow points, humps, and reefs when the waves roll in, tearing up the bottom, darkening the water, and disorienting baitfish. Walleyes might slam artificial lures in as little as 2 or 3 feet of water under these conditions. Yet these same areas can be dead as a doornail when it's calm.